Welcome back. You got Will and I Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and Inscribed, and today we got another Bitmap takeover.
Another one, dude.
It's every week, every Wednesday.
Every week. It's every week, bro. You know, that's how we do.
Oh, it's every week, bro, now. Okay.
Yeah, we definitely can't do every day.
I heard some laughing.
Actually, we did do every days for like a few weeks. Remember? We literally put out a Bitmap video every freaking day.
We did.
For like
Bitmap
almost a month.
Every day, bro.
Pretty sure it was every day, bro, then as well.
It was every day, bro. And I probably said the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, TJ remembers. All right, I guess I'm a Pauler or something. I'm a Jake Pauler, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Congrats, dude.
Yeah, that's me. So let's do the thing we do. Let's check in on the ecosystem and its growth and its maturation.
Speaking of growth, we're looking at Magic Eden owners, 23,100. I don't know if that's rounded up, but let's call it not.
Nonetheless, it's still trending upwards. I think last week we checked in, it was at 23,000 even. So
yeah,
it's an increase. Now, is this like outpacing Sandbox's increase?
I don't think so.
You think Sandbox is growing?
I think it is.
Quicker?
Yeah, let's double check.
Uh-oh. Well, obviously the big next milestone, I think, for the Bitmaps ecosystem, at least as far as like a new narrative that has been unlocked, is the surpassing of the Sandbox, right? So we're going to continue to talk about this every single week until it happens.
They also grew by 100.
Fuck, dude. We need to go faster. Our Sandbox needs to
How are they growing? It's weird.
I mean, it's the Sandbox, dude. They're number one for a reason.
0.25. I guess a floor price.
Maybe Snoop Dogg did another drop or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Nonetheless, that is the objective and the goal, right? But
so if you're watching this, please share this video with somebody that you think is going to like the metaverse. Tell them about Bitmap.
Seriously.
It's the single most interesting thing to happen in the metaverse since when? Since Ordinals.
You said the single most interesting thing to happen in the
metaverse since
Ordinals?
No, since I don't know. I guess
since ever, dude. Just make it easy for yourself.
Is it ever though?
Well, yeah, dude, I think so. This is the first actual standard, organically generated.
Yeah,
all rooted to non-arbitrary information on the blockchain, dude. Like, come on, what else has been done?
That's more interesting.
That's cooler than that.
Yeah, nothing.
Maybe that Lex Fridman, Mark Zuckerberg interview.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that interview, definitely watch it. Lex Fridman, Zuckerberg in the metaverse chatting.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, if you want a glimpse of like what the future is going to look like as far as like a social interaction in like a virtual sense.
Dude, imagine if we had the virtual version of Elon Musk here, or Lex, or Zuck. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we could do that for sure.
Yeah. All right, so looking at the next one here. So we're looking at 2 sats maxi. We're picking up the pace. Looks like a lot of purchases happening for Bitmap. 40 buys pending. So the pace is picking up. And
yeah, it definitely picks up and drops off. Picks up, drops off. But you know, that's what a market looks like. You know, and there's a lot of activity still happening. You know, in the Bitmap space.
All right, looking at Dr. Ordinals here for the first, the Bitcoin native. Ordinal concept metaverse on layer 1 Bitcoin. Bitmap seems to be hugely underrated. What are your thoughts? Bitmap 4 million, market cap to Decentraland 1.5, Sandbox 2.4.
Yeah, it reminds me of those like comparisons of like crypto. You remember like those little dots? Like here's crypto.
Yeah.
Then like here's like all of like the derivatives market on Wall Street, shit like that.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a good comparable analysis, right? And in Bitmap's perspective, there's no reason why Bitmap can't be side by side or even bigger than these individual ecosystems, right? Because these are just individual siloed virtual environments, you know? Bitmap is all encompassing.
Yeah, here's what's interesting is Decentraland has a virtual world developed by the foundation. Sandbox, same thing, virtual world. Bitmap has many virtual worlds developed by the community, right? Expector, so Chris, Recursiverse,
and now anybody who's leveraging inscribed.space's tools, I mean, there's already like over 50, I think, worlds that have been spun up.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, so, dude, like the foundation of Bitmap, I mean, it's as sound as it gets.
Yeah, and it's only 3 months old, so, I mean, and it's only going to get more robust and, you know, more creator and developer tools will be, you know, released down the line for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of inscribed.space, 3 epic 3D experiences now forever inscribed on Bitcoin. We got dive into pure physics madness, explore UF Bros Gallery by 8-Bit Sats, play 40 games in the Mega Ordinals Arcade.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks great, dude. This reminds me of like early days when we first got into the metaverse, you know, seeing like crypto voxels and early Decentraland. Like this is right on par with that type of experience, you know. People, I mean, I don't think you could do this in crypto voxels, to be honest. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been in there.
Yeah,
actually, I think you can. You can deploy like little arcade games in there.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is different. This is on Bitcoin.
Yeah, and it's all
inscriptions.
Inscribable.
Yeah.
Right? That's sick.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Who is still fading bitmaps at this point?
Yeah.
I want to talk to you if you are.
They're mistaken, dude. All right, Expector. Look.
Oh, man, we haven't talked about them in a while, dude.
Big update. So our bitmaps are on Bitmap Community. Expector bitmaps enable you to interact with Bitcoin enthusiasts. Special thanks to Wizop.
Yeah, shout out bitmap.community, probably like the ultimate like indexer of like anything that's happening in the Bitmap ecosystem. So this is good. It's you know, categorizing things, adding order to this like very chaotic beginnings of this, you know, virtual existence layer on Bitcoin. So it's good to see Expector added to the list, especially now because, you know, they're dropping some mega bomb updates, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is cool. I remember they purchased a bunch of bitmaps, and I think they're just being recognized here in the interface, so that's cool. All right, so another Expector update. We created an optimized SDK with detailed guides for builders and Unreal Engine 5 designers to begin unleashing their creativity in the Expector verse. So SDK is huge, right? We are SDK maxis.
I would say so, yeah. If you know anything about our background in Decentraland, you know, not to like talk down on like builder tools. Builder tools are also important.
They're going to be important, but that's going to be more important later on.
Right. But we've always, you know, we've approached the metaverse as far as like, this is like a developer's like dream.
Yeah.
Building in the metaverse. So in order for that to like really be maximalized, we need these like SDKs for, you know, these toolkits for devs to create, you know, engaging content, right?
Yeah. Because I guess our definition of the metaverse is like the internet, but in 3D. So in order to enable that, you need an SDK to bring in all the functionalities that we're used to with being on the internet, but just being in a multiplayer environment in 3D.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So it definitely starts there. There's other, of course, like parallel infrastructure components that go along with like a, you know, like a widely adopted SDK, but this definitely pushes the needle forward. So
yeah,
we're definitely excited to learn more about what's contained within and like what it's Unreal Engine 5. So
yeah, we're gonna be diving deep into this. So DK, let us know when it's available. We're gonna jump into it. All right, so Bitmap Punk. To create value, bitmaps, it's to create jobs on bitmaps. So parceling is the most expensive thing to do on bitmaps and thus the thing to do in order to create value. So parceling, giving incentives to create parcels, to inscribe parcels is going to be an important component because there's 850 million parcels. And that gives, I guess, 850 million people an opportunity to jump onto the Bitcoin metaverse.
Yeah, if it's one parcel, one for one, which likely won't be the case, but nonetheless, it's a huge pool of human beings part of a network, you know?
Yeah,
I think Fortnite has like 70 to 80 million concurrent users at any given time or something like that.
That's a lot.
Right, so you could feasibly like foresee some type of future where, like, you know, Bitmap can host that type of activity, but obviously it's going to take a while. It took like Fortnite and Roblox like
10-15 years.
Specifically Roblox took them like 15 years to get to the point where they're at, you know?
Yeah, they have 65 million daily active users.
Correct. So yeah, Bitmap Punk is right, dude. It's all going to be about unlocking value
through the parcels.
Yeah, or unlocking different, like, you know, he's labeling we got to create jobs in a sense. And yeah, I agree. Jobs is one way to put it. Just I think it's like purpose. Yeah. For humanity to like want to exist in this virtual space, right? So yeah, jobs is one because, you know, everybody's motivated by, you know, monetary.
DMT is another.
And just whatever, social, whatever it ends up being, right? So this value needs to be created in order for parceling to, I guess, like really flourish, right?
Yeah. So Dirk, we'll offer tools for devs to build. So again, kind of plug in the SDK thing. Hope to be able to speak to Blockamoto in the community about how to do this in a way that benefits every bitmap holder.
Hell yeah, dude. So yeah, let's get the conversation started. We're gonna reach out to you guys, Expector. Let's do a round 2 discussion on our podcast, and let's break it down. How can we apply this technology into, unlock the potential for all the bitmap owners?
Yeah, 100%.
We have experience doing this in the past with Decentraland's SDK, and we created a creator economy out of it that generated a lot of developers and creators like significant amount of money.
Yeah,
right? It was a very sustainable.
Yeah. So if Dirk is watching this, I think the best implementation of this SDK would be to allow people to connect their bitmap, any bitmap, and then leverage the SDK so that developers can build applications. We call them metas. Build these applications using this SDK, and then anybody who is using Expector to deploy their bitmap virtual world, they can just like purchase these applications and deploy them in their virtual world developed by any developer. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like a very sustainable model that we've been using.
Exactly. So, so more details on that coming soon once we figure them out.
Yeah. All right. So here, I guess we're showcasing one of our tweets, right?
Well, specifically the video embedded to this tweet, which if you weren't aware, we had a good podcast discussion with the Life Beyond.
Yeah, Ben Charbit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so here's our video. I think the whole thing is posted on Twitter. And, it's got 17,000 views.
No way, dude.
Wow.
17,000 wowzers, dude. That's a lot of views, I guess, for us, right? I mean, typically, we range like in the 1 to 2,000 range. Sometimes we crack above 3. So 17's quite the
jump.
So, yeah, this video got a lot of attention, right? For good reason, because remember when Animoca made this announcement in Life Beyond, initially we kind of assumed, we jumped the gun, and the assumption is like, this has to be all about bitmap, right? But then it turns out it wasn't. It was like it was all about Life Beyond.
Well, the ecosystem. I don't know if we assumed it was about bitmap, but it was like, don't forget about bitmap.
Yeah, I think it was more like it was a prediction. It was like, okay, the Animoca's dabbling in the space, and at some point they're gonna have to become aware now of bitmap's existence. And
if they're not aware, then either they're ignoring it or they're just not paying attention.
There's no way they're ignoring it, because the amount of resources and like funding Animoca has, like they have like whole research teams. They gotta have a team already deployed, doing its due diligence and investigating like bitmap.
Right. Yeah, and that's why you guys should watch this video, because they definitely did not ignore it. Yeah. And they're trying to figure out ways to integrate that into Life Beyond's ecosystem.
Yeah, correct.
So I think we want to talk about this tweet here. So feedback from Axime is like, why do I need to buy Life Beyond's ecosystem token when I hold Bitmap, the most effective token for channeling value and aligning incentives amongst visionaries and creators of an open metaverse on Bitcoin? And Ben comes in and he says, Bitmap is not a fungible token. And so Jack Liu, I get Jack Liu's kind of position here. This 800,000 bitmaps. Mm-hmm. That's enough to fulfill a fungible supply, right? But it's not a fungible token.
And it's not, in the sense that because they're all unique, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the supply is so high, it's almost as if...
Yeah, you could leverage them in like a utility capacity similar to like what fungible tokens enable.
Governance token.
Correct. Right. Yeah, it's like you don't really need to remint a whole new token. It's just one for one. You know, you have a bitmap, you have one vote.
Yeah, and so Ben comes in here as the point of the fungible token is that the value created within the network will be reused in the form of fees that are fueling a treasury that will be used to fund other development and seed new projects. It doesn't mean we can't use Bitmap and a fungible token, which we agree with, right? Just because we have Bitmap doesn't mean there's not going to be other fungible tokens. There's going to be arbitrary fungible tokens developed by projects, and there's going to be non-arbitrary fungible tokens developed by different projects.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of these projects, whenever you activate a district and you engage in some type of a land distribution event where you're onboarding a community. Because remember, to build out like a virtual environment and like I guess the truest to the metaverse sense, you're going to need community contribution in that effort. So I could foresee like a lot of fungible tokens launching alongside like these Bitmap virtual environment activations, that's fine. They're all It's free technology, right? Anybody can mint a BRC20 or a Rune token or anything really, or an NAT in the future.
And we were talking to Ben. We were trying to explain, probably not as good as we could, but we're trying to explain it's like you might be able to do this through a non-arbitrary process.
Yeah.
Right. Leveraging Bitcoin's data to create a fungible token.
Yeah.
And so obviously this concept is not obvious.
Well, yeah, because it's untested, right?
Yeah, it's untested.
Hasn't been deployed. So
It's untested from the sense that, we're talking about fungible tokens, but it's tested in the sense that we have rare sats, people like it. We have Bitmap, people like that. Yeah. And these all stem from this non-arbitrary process. This this idea of like this data came from Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they're valuable. So why not expand on that and leverage a fungible token that's non-arbitrary, right? So how do you do that? Well, that's, I guess, a burden is on us to kind of display that, which we will soon.
Correct. So all that to say, it was a good interview. And overall, I think it's a good indication. Animoca is definitely interested. They're involved, and they're exploring.
Yeah.
It's a good sign.
Okay, so, all right, so let's kind of move on. So we're talking about solid track record on spotting opportunities.
It's the same thing.
Oh, it's the same one?
This is, we can move on, like you said.
Okay, so
it's a repeat.
All right, so we got another one here. I wish someone could explain why Bitmap needs a token. We are building on top of Bitcoin already. I think it's missing something. So there's going to be different use cases for different tokens, right? Just like we have BRC20s, like why do we have BRC20s? We have Bitcoin, right? It's like there's reasons to have fungibility and outside of Bitcoin. So I think we're going to see different types of fungible tokens on top of Bitcoin, obviously, and then on top of Bitmap as well. So
yeah, but not a token representative of overall
of Bitmap. No, because the only way to do that is because even if Bitoshi came in and says, "Here's our fungible token for Bitmap," it's arbitrary, right? So that doesn't really make sense. So instead, there needs to be a fungible token for Bitmap that is non-arbitrary, meaning you have a bitmap, you have the parcels of that bitmap. Each parcel represents some sort of pattern. That pattern represents a fungible token. You inscribe that pattern, that fungible token. And then all of a sudden, everyone has like this airdrop of a fungible token through a non-arbitrary process. That is a way to do a fungible token on Bitmap. So we're going to see tons of those. We're also going to see tons of non-arbitrary tokens not associated with Bitmap. And, that's it.
Yeah. Well, if you scroll down here a little bit, we get to Bitoshi's take on this. So Bitmap is the token, declares Bitoshi. So
yeah, I
think he agrees with you, dude.
Yeah.
Everything we need is contained within the Bitmap, right?
All right. So we just finished recording, the Recursiverse interview. This guy is on the money with everything he says about what is important for the metaverse proliferation, following everything his team builds if you care about Bitmap, and not sponsored. We've never been sponsored for anything, by the way.
Just so y'all know.
Yeah.
Patreon link below. Just kidding. We don't even have one, I don't think. Or do we?
No, we don't.
Okay.
But you can
friend
sign
tech
up.
Link below. Just
negative.
Just kidding as well.
Negative.
Yeah.
But you can sign up for our newsletter, and but that's free. That's free.
That's free. Yeah, it definitely doesn't help us, buy any food or anything. But
blockrunner.com. Yeah, definitely doesn't.
It's so cool though. Yeah, because we're putting out weekly newsletters. Specifically for now, it's ordinal reports.
Yeah.
In newsletter format, but eventually we're gonna get Bitmap reports also on there.
Yeah.
In circulation. So go to where? Blockrunner.com. Right?
Blockrunner.com. Yeah. Sign up for a newsletter.
All right. Appreciate y'all.
All right. And I think that's it.
Definitely keep your eyes open for the Recursiverse interview, because we go into deep about like a lot of core fundamental topics in relation to, like, again, the metaverse, and how is it going to be constructed. And surprisingly, we align on way more than we were expecting.
Yeah, 100%.
With RC.
He's like one of us, dude.
He's definitely one of us. He's definitely he knows his stuff.
Yeah, he does.
And so he has a lot of experience, and I think his direction is, like I said, spot on.
Yeah.
And he's already rolling things out that are relevant to what's happening in Bitmap right now, like the BRC 420 standard.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. Royalties.
royalties and the beginnings of like a universal like creator standard.
Yeah. Hell
These are important things. These are primitives, dude, in order to get like a real digital economy going, you know?
Yeah. Single most difficult thing to deploy in any ecosystem.
Yeah, but it's worth trying, dude.
Yeah, it is.
It's worth trying.
All right. Let us know if we missed anything in the comment section below. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, like and subscribe, do all those things. And appreciate you guys, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.